Hello students, welcome back to Kartikeya Daily Practice Quiz. So today we are going to discuss about 10 most practice questions on polity subject. And along with the polity, we are going to do remaining subjects also and current affairs sessions also we are conducting. So please watch Kartikeya IAS Academy YouTube channel along with the daily current affairs and practice quiz. The first question, if you see that, so which of the following Amendments Act of the Indian Constitution is known as Mini Constitution of India. So, there are so many amendments in the Indian Constitution. Out of the amendments, which is the most important amendment we can consider? So, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, which is enacted by the Indira government in 1976. So, lot of changes have been happened to Indian Constitution. If you see the provisions of Indian Constitution, sometimes we can consider whether it is Indian Constitution or Indira Constitution, especially 42nd Amendment Act. So, the question states like this: which of the following amendments of Indian Constitution is also known as Mini Constitution of India? So, Justice Varan Singh Committee recommendations, the government has considered these recommendations and made amendment, that is 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So Swaran Singh Committee recommendations చాలా important exams కి. So based on whose recommendation the Indian Constitution was amended with 42nd Amendment Act అంటే సో డెఫినెట్గా స్వరణ్ సింగ్ కమిటీ అంటాం. ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ రాజ్యాంగానికి ఏ అమెండ్మెంట్ ద్వారా యాడ్ చేయబడింది అనుకున్న స్వరణ్ సింగ్ కమిటీ రికమెండేషన్ మనం చెప్తూ ఉంటాం. సో ది ఆన్సర్ ఈస్ so 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So if you see the content, 42nd Amendment Act 1976 is one of the most important amendment to the Indian Constitution. It was enacted by the Indian National Congress headed by Indira Gandhi then. Due to the large number of amendments this act has brought to the Indian Constitution, which is also known as mini constitution. Right, my dear students, this is the first question. Then second question, which is also very important, which related to Constituent Assembly. So you can see that Constituent Assembly, when you open document of preamble, you will identify the word called Constituent Assembly. So with reference to the Constituent Assembly, which of the following statement is correct? So the first statement is, it was recommended by the Cabinet Mission for the purpose of framing of Indian Constitution. Yes, Cabinet Mission, that is 1946, they came to India. So there are three important personalities which we are going to discuss in the next slide. So based on the recommendation of these three people, the Indian Constitution came to a different approach. So second statement is, with the passing of Indian Independence Act 1947, the Constituent Assembly became a sovereign body. Right. So statement 1. So select the correct answer using the quotes below. Only 1, only 2, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. So both statements are correct. So answer is 1 and 2. So both 1 and 2 is the right answer. I'll just go to the key. Statement 1 is correct. The Cabinet Mission of 1946 consisting of 3 British ministers. The first one, Lord Pethick-Lawrenson. Second one, Sir Stafford Cripps. And third one, A.V. Alexander. So these are the three important personalities who came to India in 1946 to recommend setting up of a Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing Indian Constitution. So statement 2 is also right, because after the formation of Indian Constitution, the Indian Independence Act 1947, that means, so we got independence in 1947. To frame the Constitution, we required some time, because Constituent Assembly is the most important body which was established by this committee. So this is the legislative body, you can say that, up to the new constitution came into force. The new constitution came into force, the elections has to be conducted. Once election has been conducted, the original parliament is going to be established. So until that, the Constituent Assembly will become the sovereign body. Are you getting my point, sir? అంటే ఏంటంటే ముందుగా కాన్స్టిట్యూంట్ అసెంబ్లీ ఇండైరెక్ట్ ఎలక్టెడ్ బాడీ ఏర్పడుతుంది. ఈ ఇండైరెక్ట్లీ ఎలక్టెడ్ బాడీ భారత రాజ్యాంగానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి డ్రాఫ్టింగ్ కమిటీని ఏర్పాటు చేస్తారు. రాజ్యాంగం రాసుకుంటాము 1950s, జనవరి 26, 1950 రిపబ్లిక్ డే సెలబ్రేట్ చేస్తాము. తర్వాత మనకి ఎలక్షన్స్ కండక్ట్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. ఎలక్షన్స్ కంప్లీట్ అయిన తర్వాత డైరెక్ట్గా ఎన్నుకోబడినటువంటి ప్రభుత్వం ఏర్పడుతుంది. ఇది సావరెన్ బాడీగా మనం చెప్తాం. బట్ అంటిల్ ద న్యూ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇస్ ఫార్మ్డ్, elected body is formed by the elections. So until that, the Constituent Assembly will be the sovereign body. So statement 2, initially the Constituent Assembly was brought about by the British government. It could not be allowed a sovereign body, sorry, it could not be called a sovereign body, but its powers were limited. Not completely, but limited. However, with the passage of Indian Independence Act 1947, the Constituent Assembly became a sovereign body and it was free to frame the constitution as it pleased. The Indian Independence Act 1947 also empowered the Constituent Assembly to frame the laws of India until the new constitution came into force. Right, my dear students? I'll go back to the same question. So, with reference to the Constituent Assembly, which of the following statements are correct? It was recommended in the cabinet mission for the purpose of framing of new constitution. Right answer. So, 1946. With the passing of the Indian Independence Act 1947, the Constituent Assembly became a sovereign body. Clear? Right. Next question. Which of the following statement is correct for the working of Constituent Assembly? So this is a very important body which is in the syllabus also. As a group 1, group 2 or UPSC, definitely Constituent Assembly which question. Statement 1. The Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. అంటే మీకు కంటెంట్ తెలియాల్సి ఉంటుంది. సడన్గా మనం బై హార్ట్ చేసేది ఏముండదు. సో డిసెంబర్ 9th ఏం జరిగింది, డిసెంబర్ 11th ఏం జరిగింది, డిసెంబర్ 13th ఏం జరిగింది, ఇలా కొన్ని మన హైరార్కీస్ ఉంటాయి. డేట్స్ వైజ్గా మనం చదువుతుంటాం. ద ఫస్ట్ మీటింగ్ అయిందా లేదా? ఒకవేళ ఫస్ట్ మీటింగ్ అయ్యిందంటే స్టేట్మెంట్స్లో మీకు చూడండి, ఆప్షన్ ఏ ఓన్లీ 1, ఆప్షన్ బి 1 and 2, ఆప్షన్ సి 2 and 3, ఆప్షన్ డి 1 and 3. సో కాబట్టి 1 కనుక రైట్ అయితే ఆప్షన్ సి అనేది ఎలిమినేట్ చేసే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. ఆర్ యు గెట్ మై పాయింట్స్? రైట్. ఆల్ ద పార్టీస్ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ ముస్లిం లీగ్ అటెండెడ్ ద అసెంబ్లీ. ఇది కరెక్ట్ కాదు. ఎందుకంటే ముస్లిం లీగ్ వాళ్ళు బాయ్కాట్ చేశారు. ఒకసారి కాన్స్టిట్యూంట్ అసెంబ్లీ ఏర్పాటు అయ్యేటప్పుడు సో ఆల్ ద పార్టీస్ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ అని చెప్పారు, బట్ ఇట్స్ ఎక్స్క్లూడింగ్ అనమాట. సో మనం స్టేట్మెంట్ చూద్దాం. అండ్ సజ్జనార్ సిన్హా వాజ్ ఎలక్టెడ్ యాజ్ అ టెంపరరీ ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ అసెంబ్లీ ఫాలోయింగ్ ది జపనీస్ ప్రాక్టీస్. సో విచ్ ఆర్ ది ఫాలోయింగ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇస్ ట్రూ? Yes, my dear students, only one. So the answer would be like this. Statement 1 of Sachoda. So the Constituent Assembly held its first meeting December 9th, 1946. The Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on a separate state of Pakistan. The meeting was thus attended by only 211 members. Sachna Sinha was the oldest member, was elected as a temporary president of Constituent Assembly and following the French practice, not Japanese practice. So statement అంతా కరెక్ట్. ఇక్కడ చూడండి జపనీస్ ప్రాక్టీస్ అన్నారు, ఇది ఫ్రెంచ్ ప్రాక్టీస్. సో కాబట్టి ఈ కీ వర్డ్ మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది. సో రిమైనింగ్ అంతా కూడా మీకు అర్థమైపోతుంది. రైట్. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్. సో కాన్స్టిట్యూంట్ అసెంబ్లీ అపాయింటెడ్ ఎ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ కమిటీస్ టు డీల్ విత్ డిఫరెంట్ టాస్క్ ఆఫ్ ది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ మీటింగ్. చాలా వరకు ఏర్పాటు చేశారు, అనేక కమిటీస్ ఏర్పాటు చేశారు. లార్జెస్ట్ కమిటీ ఉంది, స్మాలెస్ట్ కమిటీ ఉంది. సో కాబట్టి విచ్ ఆర్ ది ఫాలోయింగ్ కమిటీ వాజ్ హెడెడ్ బై జవహర్లాల్ నెహ్రూ. సో జవహర్లాల్ నెహ్రూ గారు హెడ్ చేసినటువంటి కమిటీ ఏంటి? సో ఫస్ట్ వన్ యూనియన్ పవర్స్ కమిటీ, యూనియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ కమిటీ, స్టేట్ కమిటీ అండ్ ప్రొవిన్షియల్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ కమిటీ. సో ఆన్సర్ వుడ్ బి, చూడండి, ప్రొవిన్షియల్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ కమిటీ ఇస్ ఏ డిఫరెంట్. సో యూనియన్ పవర్స్ కమిటీ అండ్ యూనియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ కమిటీ అండ్ స్టేట్స్ కమిటీ. సో ఆన్సర్ ఈస్ 1, 2, 3. రైట్. సో ఆన్సర్ 1, 2, 3. మనం చూద్దాం ఇక్కడ. So the Constituent Assembly appointed a number of committees to deal with different tasks of constitution making. Out of these, 8 were major committees and rest of minor committees. The names of the committees and chairmen I have mentioned here. First one, Union Powers Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Union Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This is important. The Provincial Constitution Committee. Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is the in charge of writing the Constitution. We can consider the father of Indian Constitution also. Right? So, Advisory Committees, Sardar Patel. Rules and Procedure Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And States Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Steering Committee also, Rajendra Prasad. My dear students, we have to by heart these things. Otherwise, you can understand, if Dr. Rajendra Prasad is the chairman, then he used to take care of the entire committee, so that is ruling committee, maybe steering, so you can remember like this, right? Next question, fifth question. Which of the following features of Indian Constitution has borrowed from Canada Constitution? You know, very important. Canada, every time there is a one question coming from sources of Indian Constitution. So advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, office of governor, and appointment of state governors by the center. When you're looking for Canada, it's a strong center. That is, the objective of Canada Constitution is to have a strong center, right? So, advisory jurisdiction, appointment of state governors by the center. So, if 3 is the right answer, you can eliminate 1 definitely because 3 is not there. So, are you getting my point, sir? The office of governor would be different, right? So, the Indian constitution is known as a bag of borrowings. So, borrowed constitution. The other name of Indian constitution is borrowed constitution. So, draws the features from Indian constitution from different countries. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar rightly said it was created after ransacking the known constitution across the world, taken different sources. They spent about 64 lakhs of rupees, and 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days they have spent it, and they have written the constitution, and a lot of debates and discussions, and finally put for voting. So, in that, the Canada Constitution, what we have arrived at. First one, federation with a strong center, as I said. Second one, vesting of residuary powers in the center. If you look at the seventh schedule, there are central list, state list, concurrent list, and last is residual list. Residuary means the list which is not mentioned in the above list, that is center, state, and concurrent list. Leftover list, we can say that. Appointment of state governors by the center, because I said the Canada Constitution is the unitary features. That is, appointment of state governors by the center is a unitary feature. Then advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So these are the 4 important we have taken from Canada. And the office of governor is borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935. Very important. You have expected 10 marks questions on Government of India Act 1935. How can you consider it is the most important document for writing Indian Constitution? That is why. So if you consider the more than 60 to 70% of the Indian Constitution is directly copied from Government of India Act 1935. So that is why it was a 10 marks question 2015 UPSC. So how can you say that the Government of India Act 1935 is the most important document for Indian Constitution? Right? This is a Xerox copy of Indian Constitution. Next one. Which of the following rights are covered under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution? Yes, my dear student, this is the most important article, right to life. So, right to life is a dignified life. Again, the Supreme Court has interpreted a number of times Article 21. Initially, it just considered about right to life, but later it was interpreted with the different cases into different dignified life. See, education is very important. We know that, but Right to Education Act Article 21A was inserted into Article 20A because having without education one cannot enjoy his life. So that is right to life is very important. So, what are the statement we can understand about Article 21? So, first one, right to travel abroad. Yes. In Maneka Gandhi case, right to abroad has been considered by the Supreme Court under Article 21. So, right to move merely throughout the territory of India. See, it looks like the Article 21, but it's slowly touching the Article 19.1a. That is, Article 19.1 talks about freedom of speeches. Freedoms. There are 6 freedoms we have. Article 19.1a, Article 19.1b, 19.1c, 19.1d, 19.1e, 19.1f, and 19.1g. So 19.1f, that is right to property, though it is removed from the list of fundamentals, but it kept in fact, so an Article 300a as a right to property as a legal right. Yeah, part number 12, you can say that. So the idea is, it looks like same, but it's not. Then right to reside and settle in any part of the Indian territory. This is also Article 19.1a, Article 19.1. So you can see that it is a general information where you have to by heart it. So statement 1 is the answer, right? The right to move freely throughout the territory and right to reside any part of the territories comes under Article 19.1a, and Indian Constitution is guaranteeing 6 types of freedom to Indians. Then right to travel abroad comes under Article 19.1, that is right to life and liberty. Next question. With reference to the rights of minorities to establish and administer education institutions of their choice. Very important, and here we are going to discuss about one important case. So minorities, who are minorities? Minority means less in number. So if you see fundamental rights, Article 29 and Article 30 talks about the cultural and educational rights of minorities. So if you see India, religious minorities are there, language or language speaking. That is, if you consider throughout India as a one unit, you can see that Hindus are majority and all the remaining religions are minority. And if a state you consider as a single unit, then language is a criteria for deciding the minority. Consider Andhra Pradesh, Telugu speaking people are more. So Andhra state is a Andhra speaking people, that is Telugu speaking people are in majority and remaining all other languages are called minority. So in the constitution, this article 29 and 30 providing a special kind of rights to minorities. So what is this right, special rights? Yes, first one, to choose its governing body, to appoint a teaching and non-teaching staff, to set up its own fee structure. It is. So answer would be obviously 1, 2, 3. So where it was mentioned, one case study. The judgment delivered in the Secretary of Malankara Syrian Catholic College case in 2007. In Catholic case 2007, the Supreme Court has summarized certain generalistic principles related to establishment and administration of minority educational institutions. So these are the 4 important informations I have mentioned. So minority means though they are having a particular type of culture, script, language, etc. So they have certain rights to protect their special languages and special culture. To choose the governing body to whom the founders of the institution have failed and confidence to conduct and manage the affairs of the institution. To appoint the teaching staff and non-teaching staff. That means government will not involve in appointment of the teaching staff and non-teaching staff of this minority institution. Clear? That is, the government may not interfere in these institutions. It is their given freedom to them. To admit eligible students, they choose and set up a reasonable fee structure. So it has been given to them. This is very simple. If the fee structure is very high, the student will not join. At the same time, they will prescribe certain fee structure. To use the properties and assets of the benefit of the institution. Right? Next question. Which of the following is not a fundamental duty? Article 51 capital A talks about fundamental duties. So, students, listen to me. Based on the recommendations of Swaran Singh Committee, Indira government 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1956, 10 duties were inserted into Constitution. 42nd Amendment Act 1976. These fundamental duties was extended to 11 duties. That is 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. There is one more duty, that is 11th duty was added to the fundamental duties. Right now how many duties we have? 11 duties. What is the 11th duty? It is a duty of the parent or guardian to provide education to their children. So if you see you have to by heart these things, definitely. 11 duties, you have to by heart, you have to understand what is the importance of the duty, to abide by the constitution, respect the ideals of freedom fighters. So you have to by heart these things, and then only you can understand this question. So to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood, obviously. Third statement, to promote the welfare of the people by securing social order. So, but this thing was mentioned DPSP, not in fundamental duties. Article 38, if you see that, these things you will identify. Right? To safeguard the public property and abjure the violence. Right? So, statement is not fundamental duties, is the answer. So, I have mentioned all the fundamental duties, Article 51, capital A. So, 11 duties I have mentioned here. And the last one, that is to promote the welfare and padam kalipichinare DPSP gelpondi. Welfare of the people by securing the social order. Right? Next question andi. Which of the following acts or acts has been passed by the parliament on the request of the states? అంటే రాష్ట్రాల యొక్క రిక్వెస్ట్ మీద కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం చేసినటువంటి చట్టాలని కొన్ని ఉదాహరణలు చెప్పారు. So Price Competition Act 1955, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Air Pollution and Control Pollution Act 1981. So 1 and 2 statements are right answers because it is on the recommendation of the states only it has been done. And third is Parliament has done. So I have mentioned the answers here, just you can read it. I have mentioned furthermore, when the state legislatures of 2 or more states pass a resolution requesting the Parliament to enact laws on the matters of the state list, because the state list is related to states only, the Parliament is not supposed to make any laws on it. But based on the recommendation of the states, the Parliament can make laws. Then the Parliament can make laws on a regulating that matter. So a law so enacted applies only to those states which have passed the resolution. However, if any other state may adopt it afterwards, is passing the resolution to effect its legislation. So such a law can be amended or repealed only by Parliament. You have to remember the word only by Parliament, not by the legislatures. So some of the examples you can see that Price Competition Act 1955, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, and Urban Land 1976, and finally Transplantation of Human Organs 1994. So important these are the important laws which are enacted by the Parliament on the recommendation of the states. Next question, Andy. Very important question about UPSC. So, which of the following is true regarding UPSC? The Union Public Service Commission is a constitutional body. So, about the constitutional body, what are the things has to be mentioned here? The UPSC consists of the chairman and other members are appointed by the President of India. President of India. Then, the Constitution authorizes the Parliament to determine the conditions of service of chairman and other members of the commission. See, my dear students, the statement seems to be very easy, but there is a small criticality behind the statements. The first statement, if you see that the UPSC consists of a chairman and members are appointed by the President of India. Right answer. At the same time, the commission authorizes the constitution authorizes the parliament to determine the conditions of service. No, it's not the parliament. It is has given to the president only. Because based on the request of the president, the UPSC will submit the report to the president only. So, but if you want to increase the salaries, if you want to increase the numbers of the members of UPSC body, or if you want to reduce the salaries of those things, then only the parliament will interfere. Right? So, the answer would be statement 1 is correct. UPSC consists of a chairman or other members are appointed by the President of India. The constitution, without the specifying the strength of the commission, has left the matter to the discretion of the President. Who determines its composition? President only. Usually the commission consists of 9 to 11 members including chairman. So 9 to 11 members including chairman, the President will take care of it. Statement number 2 is incorrect. The Constitution also authorizes the President to determine the conditions of service of the chairman and other members. Okay, my dear students. Next question, last question. So, which of the following statement is true about the State Public Service Commission? State Public Service Commission అంటే రాష్ట్రాలకు సంబంధించింది. The chairman of SPSC, because SPSC is also a constitutional body. So, whenever you are feeling that it's a constitutional body, so it is under the control of the President only. But the State Public Service Commission is appointed and removed by the President of India. Yes, it was mentioned like this. Second, the chairman of SPSC hold the office for a period of 6 years or until they attain the age of 65 years. So, which of the following statement is true? So, if you see that statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is also correct. So, the statement, how statement 1 is right? So, statement 1 until the age of 60. Okay, statement 1 is right. So, although the chairman members of SPSCs are appointed by the governor, but they can be removed by the President of India. This is very, very, very important. Appointment is done by the governors, but removal will be done by the President. Statement 1 is right. Then the chairman of SPSC holds the office for a term of 6 years or until the age of 65 years. The chairman and members of the chairman holds the office for 6 years until the age of 62 years. So whichever is earlier, in case of UPSC it is 65 years. So kabatti statement 2 అనేది wrong అన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ answer only 1 is the answer. Right, my dear students? So these are the statement. Just So go on through the entire document. I'm going to send this document to WhatsApp group, and 1 2 times చదవండి అర్థం చేసుకోండి. If you have still doubts, you can contact me in the classroom also. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.